With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Match Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Match Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great Mac to everyone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's the Max Sports Connection podcast with your hosts, Alex and Graham. Graham, welcome back. We are through yet another week. We finished week 5 of the college football season, and now we get really into the weeds of conference play. Most of the MAC will kick off next week. Some of the teams will have a bye, but finally, non-conference for the most part is over. We get to focus in on what the real prize is, a Mid-American Conference Championship. Graham, welcome back.
Yeah, Alex, I mean, we might have to put a warning on this podcast, an age restriction, because these MAC teams, they're getting offensive. Finally scoring some points this week. And that's I think that's a good thing. I mean, we've been talking about the defenses, and we've had some pretty impressive defenses so far this year, but finally nice to see the offenses around the league waking up. Not so much for UMass. Sorry, UMass.
Yeah, UMass has they've had it rough. We can just kind of dive into that one real quick. UMass took on number 20 Missouri at Mizzou. After a very weird home and home. UMass had Mizzou in the non-con last year at the Junkyard. Their appropriately named stadium. And that was just a weird thing to watch on ESPN. Well, now UMass gets to return the favor, gets to travel out to Columbia, Missouri. And UMass scored a few points. They scored 6 in the first quarter, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, this is I like that UMass came out pumped up enough to put some points on the board. That's always good. And you know, doing it in the form of a touchdown is nice. Immediately following the touchdown, having the extra point blocked, though, I mean, the Minutemen just can't find that hope this year. I hope that we'll see a little more success in their future coming up. But yeah, a tough one against Mizzou this week. I don't have that much more to say about that. Similar score anyway, but in a Maction matchup, we had Toledo taking down Akron. Akron only managing 3 points in that game. The Toledo offense that should have showed up against Western Michigan showed up here and put up 45 points for the Rockets.
Yeah, this offense looked really, really good. Tucker Gleason won MAC Offensive Player of the Week, actually. 237 passing yards on 16 completions and 3 touchdowns. Chip Trainum, you know, we kind of are starting to expect that he's going to be a name we talk about. 11 carries, 1 score, 75 yards. Tucker Gleason also had a rushing touchdown. And they put in the backups. Toledo put in the backups in the second half of this game. And I'm not surprised, right? This was a game that was well over after really after the first quarter. And Toledo took care of business, avenged their loss to the Zips a year ago in Akron, and had a nice rebound from their Western Michigan loss.
Yeah, I think that's the story of Toledo, is that they take a bad loss. Oftentimes it is within the conference, and they come back ready to play the next week. I think Rockets fans are looking for a little more consistency than Toledo has shown this year, but we'll see. We'll see going forward. You and I were talking beforehand about our favorites for the conference, and we'll talk on that in detail a little bit later. But I think Toledo is still one of them, despite some stubblings early. I think Toledo is still one of our conference favorites. Toledo rival Bowling Green took on Ohio over the weekend, and this one didn't live up to the hype for me. Alex, did you watch any of this game?
I watched a good chunk of this game, actually. Bowling Green kept getting in their own way. A lot of turnovers. Drew Pine looked less than impressive. Still had 170 yards, but 19 of 29 passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. An interception, especially late in this game, to kind of really seal it for the Ohio Bobcats. And I think Bowling Green's going to be fine. I think that they're coming along fine under Eddie George. They had a tough non-conference slate. And I think they're going to be fine. When you're going up against the defending MAC champs and you have to travel to their stadium, a school who, by the way, has a 10-game home winning streak, which includes wins over Iowa State and West Virginia in the last 2 years, you're in for a tough time on the road. Now, Peden wasn't hopping as much as it was against West Virginia. No attendance records were broken for this game. But the Ohio Bobcats, they came out, they did what they needed to do, and they continued to defend the Frank, as they like to say. Over 20,000 people on hand to see this game. So Ohio really making a case for, why they're still one of the favorites and why people are starting to really get on board with this Bobcats program.
Yeah, I mean, so far we haven't seen one school within the conference kind of take off with it and look like the stud of the year. But if there is one, it's the Bobcats. The win over West Virginia, big deal, and then just continuing to look this strong at home, I think bodes well for this Ohio team within the conference. Now, this is my big mistake on the week here, Alex, is Eastern versus Central. I thought the Eagles had a little bit of something in them. Turns out it's nothing. It's just stuffing inside this bird. This game showed Central is the better team, I think is our takeaway here.
Yeah, this was I will say when we were making our picks this week, I was a little bit kind of back and forth. Who do I take? And I decided to go Central Michigan. So, I did have this one on my list, but I thought Eastern Michigan was going to come out and really make this a good game. Mount Pleasant, that place was really, really, really jumping, almost 30,000 on hand for this one. Kelly Shorts, by the way, folks, if you've never been to this stadium, one of the coolest stadiums in the MAC. I really, really like this place. And a beautiful fall college football day. This Central Michigan defense is really, really good. And they're only getting better under Matthew Drinkle. And this offense finally started to find some critical life. I mean, this is a Central Michigan team who's now 3-2. Picked up the win at San Jose State earlier in the year. Then you lose back-to-back games at Pitt and then Michigan, games you knew were the expectation to lose, right? And now you're on a 2-game winning streak, and you travel to Akron next week. Central Michigan could be 4-2 heading into this Bowling Green game. They just need 3 wins the rest of the way to become bowl eligible.
Yeah, I mean, this Central Michigan team, I think, has outperformed our expectations, or at least kept up with them, which hasn't necessarily been true for every team in the MAC this year. But yeah, you mentioned that the 3-2 overall, 1-0 in conference play, has them tied for first in the conference. I know we don't really talk about that early on about actual conference table, but Central Michigan and Ohio, both 3-2 overall, 1-0 in the conference. Puts them at the top of the conference right now. And Is it because Central hasn't really faced the meat of the conference yet? Yes, that is why. But it's heartening to see that Central beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. So I think Central fans can take heart in that. And who knows? I mean, I would be surprised, as you say, Alex. I would be surprised if this team didn't end up bowl eligible, just because I think they have it, especially watching this game against Eastern. Did want to quickly mention Noah Kim kind of coming back to earth in this game. He has looked so good over the first 4 games of the season. This week held to 175 yards, so not what we expect to see from him, but I do expect he'll bounce back as conference play continues. This is a guy who's still leading the conference in passing yards right now. So don't look past him just because of a one stumble against Central.
No, I'm with you, and I think this is going to be Noah Kim will be fine. Eastern Michigan 1-4 to start the year. Not where you would want your program to be if you're Chris Creighton, the longest tenured coach in the MAC right now. But I think Eastern Michigan will be fine. Expectations in IPSI have never been overly high. You hover around 500. People are pretty okay with that. Chris Creighton has kind of elevated that, and the expectation is, hey, let's get to a bowl game. Let's be competitive in the Mid-American Conference. So we're starting to see that tide turn, and some frustration growing for the fans in IPSI. But Eastern Michigan, I think they will be fine coming off of this game. You've got plenty to look forward to. Bowl eligibility is still on the line. You do travel to Buffalo next week, but bowl eligibility is still on the line. You mentioned your flub up. I'm going to own this one. I thought Northern Illinois finally showed some glimpses of offense against Mississippi State last week. I thought they were going to beat San Diego State. This was an unbelievable snooze fest. I don't want to take away anything from the defenses. Defenses for both teams played excellent, especially Northern Illinois. 34 points San Diego State scored against Cal last week, and Northern Illinois holds them to 2 field goals. So hats off to Northern Illinois, but there's a quarterback problem in DeKalb. Josh Holst is not the guy. He was held to under 100 yards again on the season.
Held to under 50 yards.
Yeah, but Northern, it's a bad situation right now in DeKalb. Northern Illinois ranks dead last in the Mid-American Conference in scoring offense, averaging just 10.3 points a contest, and passing offense, averaging 99.8 yards. They aren't even hitting 100 yards a contest consistently. There is a quarterback problem in DeKalb, and Thomas Hammock needs to get that figured out, and figured out now.
Well, we knew that this game, or that this team rather, was going to be a rushing first kind of team, a run the ball to open up room for the pass. But we've seen neither, frankly. Yeah. The running game has been better than the passing game, but it certainly hasn't been anything to write home about. And that's what we're worried about for this NIU team. The defense has been excellent. I mean, you mentioned San Diego State is no slouch on offense. The defense has been excellent. Both of these teams held to under 300 yards. San Diego State, 266 total yards in this game. Northern Illinois, 179. The offense needs to wake up. If you're going to be a rushing team, you got to rush the ball. But it's not enough. I mean, there's no offense here. And for a defense that has been playing so well, it's really disappointing to see an offense play like this.
Northern Illinois defense sits third in the conference. They're giving up 20.3 points a contest. They sit second in passing defense. And this is an interesting stat. So they're giving up 171 yards a contest and sit second in passing defense. Toledo is first at 131.8. So there's a 40-yard difference there, nearly a 40-yard difference there. And then Northern Illinois, top 5 again in rushing defense, averaging less than 140 yards surrendered. So this defense is doing everything they can to buy this offense an opportunity, and the offense just keeps fumbling it away. The offense has had so many chances in so many ball games, and it's very, very frustrating to kind of see them struggle as much as they have.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. I mean, when we talk about favorites, I know a lot of folks had Northern Illinois, on their way out, headed to the Mountain West. A team picked as one of the conference favorites coming into this year so far hasn't lived up to that billing. We'll see what the rest of the season looks like, but a tough start for the Huskies. Speaking of Huskies, UConn comes to town for Buffalo, and this game was as close as we expected it to be. Super close game. Buffalo on the wrong side of it. UConn wins 20-17. But wow, I mean, what a game!
This game was a lot of fun.
I love to see Lamar Sperling, Ohio's Mr. Football a couple of years ago, went to my rival high school. But he had a great game, 106 yards on the ground and a touchdown for the Bulls. So love to see that. Buffalo's offense looked good. Their defense looked good. It just was a game of inches there. And UConn came out on top.
Well, you talk about Lamar Sperling, 106 yards on just 9 carries. He was averaging over 10 yards a carry, which I don't care who you're playing against. That's impressive. So, hats off to him. Victor Snow had 7 catches. Gunnar Gray, who I thought could have been the guy to start the year for Buffalo, getting an opportunity here. He, $125, 1 touchdown. This was a fun game for Buffalo. If you were a Buffalo fan, this was an exciting one to be at against UConn. UConn now 3-2 on the season. Just again, sucks. Frustrating loss for Buffalo. But Pete Lembeau's got this team on an upward trajectory. You look at where this Buffalo team was just a couple years ago. This is a Buffalo team who was getting blown out by UConn. Now you're playing them tough. You're playing them to literally the final whistle. And hats off to Buffalo for a competitive game, a good game against UConn. And you'll get them next time, hopefully.
Alex, for
it.
years I've been saying there's no such thing as a moral victory, and I agree. I still agree with that. There's no such thing as a moral victory. This isn't a victory for the Bulls, and they wanted to win this game. This is a game they knew they could win. And not coming away with the win is a disappointment here. But what I wanted to mention, I think the Bulls are what we thought Northern Illinois was. They are a team with a decent passing game, but really a prolific rushing attack and an excellent defense.
I've not thought about Buffalo that way, but now that you bring that up, that makes perfect sense. That Buffalo is the 2025 Northern Illinois. So I like that. I think that's accurate. Good defense, great ground game, and a serviceable, if not above average, passing game, helped out by a great ground game. So it'll be interesting to see how Buffalo translates that into conference play. They're already 1-0. They get Eastern Michigan up next. These other games, Rhode Island at Western Michigan, Lindenwood at Miami. I don't feel like there's too much to talk on those. These are both FCS opponents.
I like to see Miami getting their first win of the year. I like to see that.
Yes, and a shutout.
And I like to see Miami handling their business. That's exactly what this was. The offense showed up. They did what they had to do. And the defense showed up like they've been doing all season. Frankly, Miami's defense has been playing well all season. But the offense finally played well in this one and really looked the part. Western Michigan, we saw them show up last week against Toledo, showed up again, led up 14 points to Rhode Island, but a 47-14 victory. It's hard to be upset about anything about that.
Yeah. That's, did you notice for Miami, Henry Hessen got the start at quarterback? I don't know if that's resting DeQuan Finn or if that's, hey, we're going to try something different. I think it's resting DeQuan Finn.
Yeah, we know DeQuan Finn's been dealing with injury, so I'm not looking too much into this. Now we'll see. Hassan commanded this offense pretty well. 208 yards passing, not bad, not a bad passing day. And again, it's against Lindenwood, so it's hard to determine what that really means in terms of running the offense. But he looked good running the offense. A couple of touchdowns. So that's how guys get jobs, get starting positions. Is when you get the opportunity, you take advantage of it. This is kind of what happened. We talked about this last week. This is kind of what happened to DeQuan Finn last year at Baylor. So it would be sad to see that happen again. But Miami needs something to wake up their offense. And if it's a new quarterback, that's what it is.
Jackson Kuwach leading the way for Miami. 7 tackles, 4 solo. And then Adam Trick picked up a sack as well. Just overall, finally, a good day for the Miami offense, Miami defense. Miami defense who's played so tough against the Big Ten, who's just really put it out on the line. Finally, they get a little bit of a reprieve and says, hey, we get to go flex our own muscles and play some Miami football.
Coming up next week, Alex, are there any games that you're particularly interested in? I think my game of the week next week, the one that's going to be closest is Kent State, Oklahoma.
You're right. Kent State for the win. That's what you just said, right, Graham?
That's exactly what I said. I'm so sorry, Flash fans. I don't think it's going to happen.
The game that I've got circled really is Miami at Northern Illinois. It's the Mallory Cup. This is the final time this game is being played as a conference rivalry game. And as far as I understand, the final time for the foreseeable future, just given kind of the nature of Northern Illinois moving to the Mountain West. But this one has become an interesting rivalry over the last couple of years. So I think for me, I've got this one kind of circled the most. I like it. I think it's
if you're
good
into
defense against
battles,
good defense.
Yeah, if you're into defensive battles, this will be a good game. This is 2 great defenses with relatively anemic offenses who have underperformed this year. So it's an opportunity for one of these teams to step up. Both of these teams were kind of just on the periphery of teams we were talking about who might have a shot at the MAC championship. So a win here maybe pushes one of these teams back into that conversation. We'll see. I think that's a great game as far as game of the week goes.
Last time these two met, just for some clarification for folks, Miami came away with a win, 20-9. In fact, Miami has from 1970 to 2024, 12 wins, 9 losses, and Northern Illinois on a 4-game losing streak in this rivalry.
Well, there you go. That's hard to go into anybody's place and win, though. But we'll see. We'll see if Miami is able to continue their streak there. Central Michigan at Akron, I think, is an interesting game. This will give us some context as to where both of these teams fit in overall in the conference. I like Central Michigan in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Akron stepped up and put forth a good showing here.
Yeah, I think Akron licking their wounds a little bit after that the thrashing at the hands of, let's call it a very, very frustrated Toledo team, only putting up 13 points the week before. So Akron, you get to come back into the relatively friendly confines of Infocision Stadium. And Ben Finley did not start for Akron last week. I'm thinking we might see him back again, but who knows? But yeah, I think this will be an interesting one. I like Central Michigan getting a conference road test early. This one's a 3:30 kickoff on ESPN Plus, and I really like that they're going to get a conference road test. And it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day in Akron too.
And we'll just run through the rest of the games here. Ohio at Ball State. This should be a Bobcat victory, but we'll see. Nice to see another conference matchup. That one's on CBS Sports Network at noon. Mm-hmm. We got Western Michigan at UMass. That's kind of fun to see the Broncos travel to UMass. Maybe UMass picks up their first conference win. I got the Broncos in that one. The Eastern Michigan at Buffalo. Maybe this is where Eastern Michigan steps up and shows us that they have more than we thought. But again, I think this is a Bulls game. That one's at 3:30. And then finally, the aforementioned Kent State at Oklahoma. Kent State is making some money early in the season. That's all we have to say about that.
Kent State has made a lot of cash this year.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully the Flashes get some friendly conference games going on, because these early season games for them have just been brutal.
Well, once Kent State gets past Oklahoma, they do get UMass the week after. So a little bit more down to earth in terms of who they might be competing against. But I'll tell you, I gotta say, I've been a little bit more, and I feel like this is such a weird word to say, more impressed with Kent State this year than I was last year, than I was the year before. They're putting together drives. They're not scoring a bunch. I mean, look at the non-conference, but they're putting together a couple drives. They gave Buffalo a handful a couple weeks ago. They're finally scoring points. They're not getting shut out 76-0 like they were to Tennessee. You know, this is a Kent State team that I don't feel like they have an identity yet. You know, they sit in the bottom half of the conference in every major statistical category, but they're starting to finally play like a team. And I think that's something we've been severely lacking with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's this team looks different than they looked last year. And so I think that's good news for the Flashes. Now, this game is 4:00 on the SEC network. Alex, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch this game just because we talked about how much we've enjoyed seeing the Flashes look a little bit better this year. And I don't want to be disabused of that notion. But if I wanted to listen to it, I think maybe the best place to go would be my favorite app. And you know what app that is, Alex?
I'm going to take a wild guess here. I think it's the Varsity Network app.
You were exactly correct. You were exactly correct.
Well, you know, and I love this app too, right? It, you know, one, it's a free app to download in the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. But I think with the Varsity app, you can listen to all your favorite D1 schools. If you want to listen to Kent State, you can listen to Kent State, Akron, Toledo, Bowling Green. You want to listen outside of the MAC, you can listen to the SEC, Big Ten, and more. You can sign in, you can save these schools, their sports, and the content for ease of access. But I think something that I've got to make sure you guys know, you can also listen to us on that same app. Download the app and listen to the Varsity Podcast Network, where you're going to find a bunch of incredible podcasts through that network. Fan favorites such as yours truly, the Max Sports Connection, Group of Five Guys podcast, Sickos Committee, and a whole ton more. So make sure you guys have downloaded that app today for free and start listening to the calls and podcasts that bring your teams and conferences to life. Graham, I want to talk to you about my conference favorites. We did our conference preseason episodes, and you and I did a lot of talking about who we liked, who were the front runners in the Mid-American Conference. And I think for the most part, the front runners have stayed the same. But I think that I've seen, for me at least, a shuffling in the hierarchy of those front runners. I think that it was relatively universally accepted Toledo was the 1A of the front runners for the Mid-American Conference. And I'm starting to think that that's now the Ohio Bobcats.
You know, I think that it gets a little bit interesting when we start to break it down like that. But you and I both know, and our listeners know, in this conference, there are always 4 teams, maybe 5 teams even, that are the top of the conference. And any one of those teams can win it in any year. So this year, I think the 4 teams the 4 teams I had coming into the season were Ohio, Toledo, Buffalo, and my 4th team was varied, but most often I was talking about the Miami Redhawks as my 4th team. Mm-hmm. I think the only change in my top 4 teams is Miami. Truly. I mean, I still love Buffalo. I think they've had some rough spells early in the season, but they still look very talented to me, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Ohio is probably the top team in the conference right now. Toledo, the stumble against Western hurts, but frankly, overall, I think that Rockets team looks good. And having Jason Candle as the kind of the stalwart coach there, it gives me a lot of confidence that Toledo can bounce back from any losses. And then that fourth team for me, I think, is hard. I'm not fooled by Western Michigan the way they fooled some of us last year. I'm not fooled by Western Michigan. They're not in that fourth spot for me. Central has looked good. I'm reluctant to put them there again for the same reason. I'm not sure if this is just early season. It looks good on paper, but is not truly good because they haven't been tested yet within the conference. Who knows? I think, our last two contenders for that last spot are Miami and Northern Illinois, both of whom have underperformed. So if you ask me today who my fourth team is, it's the Central Michigan Chippewas.
I was going to say Central Michigan has very much earned my fourth spot. I don't think it's too insane to say potentially Bowling Green. We see they're off this week. We see what we get out of this Bowling Green team next week when they welcome Toledo for the Battle of I-75. That's a noon kickoff on October 11th. But I got to say this. Total offense right now, Toledo leads the MAC, averaging almost 450 yards a game. They're putting up a bunch of points. Didn't put up a bunch of points against Western, but they're putting up a bunch of points. They're playing good football. Ohio, I would argue, is the most balanced offense in the conference. Less than 100 yards separates them from rushing and passing, and they're putting up, over 400. They're putting up 420 yards a contest, scoring a bunch of points. And then total defense. If Toledo, Western Michigan sits third in total defense in the conference. What I fear for with Toledo, Northern Illinois, as it sits, is second in total defense in the conference. Toledo's going to have to play them. Toledo's going to have to play Miami, Ohio, who sits at fifth. Bowling Green sits at sixth. Central Michigan at seventh. I mean, you start getting a little bit worse down the list. You just played the 11th best overall defense in the conference and dismantled them 45-3. My concern for Toledo is, do they have a good offense, or are they good at flexing their muscles on weak defenses?
Well, I think the stats hold for Toledo. When we start looking at team stats, Toledo looks far and away the best team in the conference. You talk about, offensive yards per game, Toledo's number one. You talk about points per game, Toledo number one. Defense points per game, Toledo is number one. Defensive yards allowed per game, Toledo is number one. The stats say that this Toledo team is the best team in the conference, but what's happened is the team hasn't converted these games. I mean, that Western Michigan game should have been a win for the Rockets, and it wasn't. And I think that's what Toledo fans have been scared of for these years, is that this Toledo team can often look like the better team on the field, and they don't always win the games. It's like they suddenly shut down and part of the team doesn't work. And so they don't win the games they're supposed to win. I think that's the concern. Ohio, on the other hand, is a team who looks like they're performing all aspects of the game. This is a machine that's moving. Mm-hmm. And it's probably not one of the top teams in the country, but it's certainly one of the top teams in the conference. And so that's the question here. Is it about who has more talent, or is it about who can operate the machine? Right now, it's the Ohio Bobcats for me, but I think Toledo is certainly talented enough, and they'll turn things around. I mean, this will be a team. If I had to pick a conference championship today, it's Ohio versus Toledo. My official pick is sticking with Toledo versus Buffalo, But I think if I had to pick somebody today instead of preseason, it would be I would put the Bobcats in there.
You guys heard it here from us. You heard it here from Graham. I think you make a good point about Ohio. That is a well-oiled machine, and something I tried to caution people in the offseason. You're like, there's a coaching change. Well, there's kind of a coaching change, right? You kept a lot of that coaching staff from Tim Albin's program that won a MAC championship. You kept some key pieces on offense and defense from that program, and they've retooled, reloaded, and said, hey, let's go try to defend this title. Let's defend a title that we haven't won in 56 years, and let's really establish that we are one of the better teams in this conference. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting. I like the pick. If I'm also picking a MAC championship to be played this Saturday, right now it's Ohio versus Toledo. But we have a lot of football to be played, Graham.
That's right. And you're right to mention Bowling Green earlier. I completely missed to mention them because I was looking at the schedule for next week, and Bowling Green is off next week. So I missed them because of that. They deserve to be talked about in potential top 4 teams. They're number 5 for me right now in terms of like my head power rankings. Bowling Green is number 5.
Fair enough. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for listening today. We appreciate all the love and support. If you enjoyed today's show, hit subscribe, leave a review. Tell us what you liked about it. If you didn't like today's show, hit subscribe, leave a review. Tell us what you didn't like. We want to hear from you. And hit us up on the socials. We've been trying to get power rankings out, our weekly picks out. Having a lot of fun getting those out to you guys. Appreciate all the love you guys have shown us on those lately, and a little bit of the banter on our Twitter X that you guys say, oh, I can't believe you guys would pick Central Michigan to win. Keep that coming. We that fuels us to either get the picks right or to get them wrong. Who knows? We're not telling you. But that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok. It's at the MSC podcast. And we'll see you guys next week. A lot of great football upcoming this weekend. So get those picks in, and we'll chat with you guys soon.